they grow out of these assumptions, that we assume it's either real or it's, it should be like this because that's what I think is right. That's the only thing that we really focus on, those two things. We don't often look at it, and this is the lens that I want to encourage people to look at, from other people's point of view. And I struggle with it daily. You see something and it's that. You just know it's that. And someone else looks at that same thing and thinks it's something different. I don't know, we asked for audience participation, and it's kind of a tough topic, but I don't know if anyone cares to share at any point. I'm going to ask you to feel free to jump in. If you've read the book or you kind of get what I'm, driving to. But right now we're going to do a little something. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just going to say, this morning's session was pretty moving. A lot of great videos. And some of the topics that they hit on right off the bat, the core ethics, core values, paradigms. How many people think that those individuals that were in that plant in Marshalltown the day the tornado hit, what do you think happened to their paradigm? The way they saw the world, the way they saw their life, how their family was. You think things shifted a little bit for them? 7 days later, they announced that they're going to rebuild. Think there was a shift in a little bit how they were looking at things, how they kind of valued things, maybe the relationship at home, how they're going to pay bills.
So day 4, day 5, before they've announced, what do you think those people were thinking about? Panic. Hurt. Yeah. What am I going to do?
What do you think happened to the relationships with the people that they really were close and tight with? I think they probably bonded a little bit more. Some tough times, So this is going to be more about individual. We can look at the big company stuff. We can, but I think what we really want to hit on is ourselves, our core selves, our values, and what's our lens? How are we seeing the world? So with that, we're gonna force you to participate. So I think we'll have everybody in the room close their eyes.
Everyone in the room, please close your eyes. Yeah. Okay. The people that, from Kettle Marine, that on the, let's see how to say this, on my left of the room. So my left of the room. Open up your eyes. My left of the room. So thank you. You guys got it. Thank you very much. My left. Okay. Take a look at that.
Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes again, the ones on the left.
Please close your eyes, left.
So everybody's got their eyes closed. And now the people on the right-hand side can open up your eyes and take a look at the screen. Okay, and close your eyes. Everybody's eyes are closed.
So everyone can kind of open up their eyes now. Thank you. So we're going to show that picture again, and we're going to ask some comments of you. We're going to ask you to respond by really quickly responding. And if you've seen this drill before, please just go along with it.
I already put it up. So.
Yeah. So, there we are. So who sees a young lady in this picture? Raise your hand. Okay. And who sees an old lady in this picture? Raise your hand. So a couple of you raised your hand for both. Probably that was a bad question. I should have said, what do you first see? Not do you see? What is the very first thing you see when you look at it? Because I can tell you when I look at this picture, and by the way, Steve, do you want to go to that next one? So I fibbed a little bit. It wasn't the same picture, I kind of commented. The young lady to the left, the old lady to the right. So this side of the room saw the young lady when they looked. That side of the room saw the elderly lady. And then you both saw the middle person, when we asked you to identify it. But I can tell you, every time I look at this picture, first thing I see, and I see both, but I see the young lady. I don't know when I first had this done, but I just see the young lady, and everyone's different.
Yeah, I absolutely see the older woman. So I can see both, but I have to focus. If I'm looking for the young woman, I can certainly see her because I've been through it a number of times. But there's no doubt I see the older woman.
So when we talk about these paradigms, what you see easily, that's your reality. The challenge, and we hope that when you leave here, you take a little bit of time to try to see what other people see and to open up your mind to what other people see. And I think what we're going to talk about, it was covered in the book, and the next things, we'll revisit that concept at the end. So the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So habits. How many people spell habits with 2 B's? I want to know why rabbits has 2. Rabbits just has 1 B. What? Rabbits is 2 B's? Why is habits only 1 B? Never mind. Sorry. I digress. Okay.
Rabbits multiply.
So it defines it as a habit is the intersection of knowledge, skill, and desire. So that's what a habit is. And a habit, no question about it, is a choice. I mean, probably the most significant choices you make in your life, the hardest ones, to have a good habit, you have to do it for 11 days or 7 days or 22 days. You've all heard about this. So excellence is excellent habits. If you want to be excellent, have excellent habits. It's that simple. We're done. So the habits, knowledge, the what to, and the why to, skills, the how to, and the desire, the want to. I mean, when you have the 3 of those together, you have a habit. So the next part of the book, it kind of talks a little bit about, and this is kind of in the introduction before we actually get into the specific habits. But we talk about, there's dependent behavior, independent, and interdependent behavior. There's people that have a lot of dependent behaviors. There's people who have a lot of independent behaviors, and there's people that have a lot of interdependent behaviors. But probably all of us have all of them at some point. And sometimes a dependent behavior is probably the right thing. I would kind of argue interdependent, when you want to be dependent, being interdependent is probably a better solution. But independent, nothing wrong with being independent. Getting the job done. You're by yourself, you're running a marathon, you're out totally by yourself and you want to finish that. You rely on yourself. That dependent is you're kind of relying on someone else. You take care of me. I depend on you. I blame you for the results. Steve's going to talk a little bit about that in proactivity. So independent. I can do it. I'm responsible. I can choose. I'm self-reliant. What could I have done better? Hey, things didn't work out. We're so quick to do this, but we all know when we point a finger, 3 of them are pointing back at ourselves. I want to know what I could have done different. Because the reality is, if we're working together and I start telling you what you could have done different, I can't change that. I can maybe help you change that. But what I did wrong, I can change. It's so much in my power. So to me, it's so powerful to take responsibility because it gives you hope. It gives you hope that you can change the result because I can do something different. The people that want to blame it on other people, I feel kind of bad for them. And we all know those people who always blame it on other people. It's kind of a bummer. If you're blaming it on other people, you really can't change it. My day was terrible. You may have had a terrible day, but how you decide to react that day and deal with that day, that's all on you. That's not on the day. That is your choice. So the interdependent is, probably the best results arrive out of the interdependency, the biggest results, the most opportunities we have in life to choose a behavior interdependent. I mean, we live in a society. We live and breathe and work with each other. Interdependency and working, with each other for that ultimate result is definitely, the best opportunity to get the best results, because we are, very rarely are we by ourselves. And generally we're in a team, in a classroom, and Steve can maybe go in the military, in a workforce. We're working with others.
Yeah, so how many students in the room? A couple over here. How many teachers? Back? Good, awesome, thank you. How many sons? Daughters? Husbands? Wives? We all wear a lot of different hats. And a lot of this is, oh, we lost our screen.
There we go.
We're there. So we're going to be diving into actually the 7 habits. So most of this was an introduction. And so habit number 1 is being proactive. And again, this is a choice. This is something we can choose to either react to all the stimulus that's hitting us, bombarding us from the moment we wake up until we go to bed, and even some of those things that happen throughout the evening. We're always getting hit with stimulus. It's just constantly there. How do we react to that? I'm planning a motorcycle trip here in a couple weeks. Woke up this morning and my wife kindly reminded me, yeah, we're looking at 3 to 4 inches of snow coming up here, and I'm sure the county's going to be putting down a lot of salt. Kind of a tough way to come out of that and go real, all right, that's what I was hoping for. I want more salt and sand on the road, right? But you have to have a plan. You have to be proactive. So I'm okay. We got a plan. I've got a trailer. If we need a trailer for a little bit, we can trailer. So it's a mindset. It's something that I think probably everybody here knows. Somebody whose glass is half full, and probably somebody that's glass is half empty. So it's a mindset. It's something that we choose. And we're different than every other species out there. We've got self-awareness. We've got, and I apologize, I'm kind of reading some cliff notes here, our imagination, our conscious, and independent will. We can choose to be different. And I think the goal here is to find out who is the real you. Who do you want to be? Who are you now? What's your paradigm? What lens are you looking through? And who would you really want to be? How can you change? How can you make that choice to be proactive? So habit 1 is being proactive. And again, I'm jumping a little ahead here. This is a roadmap. So Kendall talked about dependence, independence, interdependence. We're jumping in here on the bottom triangle. Be proactive is habit number 1. And again, it's that freedom to choose. As we're getting bombarded with stimulus, and it can be coming from all over, there's 2 circles that Stephen Covey talks about in the book. And one is the circle of concern, all those things that are hitting us. And a lot of that we have no control over. We can't do a thing about it. It's just happening to us, okay? The other circle is the circle of influence. Those are the things that we can control. We have some choice. We can react a little bit differently or proact a little differently to that. And what we want to do is concentrate on the things that we can control, something that we can do something about. That's that circle of influence. And as we get more and more focused on the influence, that circle expands. And all the other concerns kind of don't go away. They're there, but we're not worried about them. We can't control them anyway. So the negative response, the negative energy is always looking at those concerns. Is it really going to snow again? I woke up this morning, it's, cloudy. 3rd day in a row it's cloudy. Oh, I just can't. I don't want to go to work. Oh, I'm late today. It's that darn traffic out there. If we wouldn't have traffic, if they just put the speed limit up to 80, I could get here in time. It's the speed limit. So it's the negative response. So we would really urge people to take a really hard look at themselves, some introspection. Who do you want to be? What choices are you making? Can you switch that paradigm and be a little bit more proactive so that you can respond to the stimulus in a positive way. So it's assessing things. It's looking at things a little differently and saying, okay, so this is happening. Where do we go from here? What's the positive thing that we can look at? Are we planning? Are we doing the things that are necessary to limit the other concerns?
So how much time do you guys, and Steve asked me this question, how much time do you spend in the circle of concern? How much time, dealing with issues, thinking through issues, just time spent, energy, resources spent in the circle of concern? Things that you can't change. World peace. I'm not saying we shouldn't think about it. It certainly impacts us all. But, I call my dad, and it's and I love my dad to death. Most of you know that. But it's 20 or 25 minutes about the world and the economy and the politics. And it's negative. It is negative energy. And he knows me well enough. At some point I'll say, well, Dad, I got to get going. He goes, yeah, you don't want to hear me anymore. He's like, yep, yeah, that's pretty much, and that's the conversation. I say, yeah, Dad, that's pretty much it. Well, I'll give you a call back and maybe we could talk about, something positive. And he's my hero. But that circle of how much time do we live in that circle of concern compared to circle of influence? The people that you work with. Being around, and socialize. If you're around negative people or people that, are always down, is that who you want to be in your circle of influence? Who do you want? What do you want? When do you want to deal with certain issues? It's a choice. That is absolutely a choice on how you deal with it.
And I think being proactive, a lot of times it comes with maturity. When I look at those people that have always been positive in my life, I think of my grandmothers, just people that have been around. They've experienced more. They've had a chance to really take it all in, and they just have it together. They see things from a different perspective.
How many times have you talked with someone that was a little bit younger, and he has this outlook in life? What do we refer to those people? What type of soul do we refer to those people as? Old soul. An old soul. Because they tend to look at things through a different lens that we're not expecting from someone of that age. I'm always impressed when I meet someone who's young that looks at things, and I learn from them as well as I learn from my dad. Mostly what to do and sometimes what not to do. So,
Questions, comments? Anybody want to share? Yes, Dave.
Was your dad always, maybe putting you on the spot, but was your dad always that way from as young as you can remember, or
no, that's a great question. So my dad is a salesperson, and he is a phenomenal salesperson. And in a very social setting, a lot of you guys have met my dad, and I don't think he comes across like that. So, sometimes you project different things depending on the people you're around. And with me, there's a little bit more familiarity, so sometimes he'll let his guard down and talk about some of those things. But, so, no, he was not that person, growing up. And he's not that person now. It just, he can get there. And I do think there's something to say with age. I think sometimes the older you get, if you stop looking at the positive things and focusing on the good things, that you can get there pretty quick. So being involved, staying involved, doing things. And my parents did a ton of things in their life, but they're not involved right now as much as I would. I hope I am when they're 92 and 89. I hope that I'm alive. But in a perfect world, if I could write my script, it would be that I'm still involved, because I think being involved and doing things and helping people keeps you in the right perspective. So I think religion does that for my parents as well. And their health, they used to go to church like 5 or 6 days a week for the last 15 years, and they've stopped doing that as much. And I think that may help them, but can't give too much advice to your parents. So, but thank you for asking.
I've had the pleasure of being at a ball game with him and golfing with him, and at 92, the guy's a hoot. I just love to be around him. So that's habit one.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get through as much as we can. Again, I don't know if we've got a goal and an end game, but if any of this stuff makes sense, we would urge you to either, grab one of the books, go out and look at it online or something like that. So we'll go to Habit 2. Well, I guess this is still part of Habit 1. So just basically, stimulus response, freedom to choose, it's our choice, and we have the ability to do that. Independent will, conscience, imagination, self-awareness.
And we're not trying to be Pollyannish. I mean, there are days, and I had one recently, on a concept, I couldn't get out of my own way. And I knew it. In fact, I called Steve that morning. I said, Steve, you need to deal with this person because it happened at the end of the day before, and I still couldn't get out of my way. I just couldn't get out of my way. So I recognized it. I coached myself, and I'd like to tell you that I executed, but I still didn't. But it wasn't for lack of processing. I just couldn't get out of my way. Generally, I'm pretty good about getting out of my way. Generally, I'm pretty good about, looking at things from what I can do and what I can control. But this was not one of those days.
And it's great having a relationship, whether it's at home or at the office, somebody you can lean on, somebody to be there to help you out. So that's really ultimately what this is about.
So begin with the end in mind. This is about where you want to finish life. I just kind of shared a little bit about where I want to end up. When I'm 90 years old, I want to be caring and helping people. And that's why I love this industry. I love the HVAC industry. And I've been in a couple other service industries, 3 other service industries, and nothing has been better than the HVAC plumbing electrical. To work with the customers, to work with the team members, to watch them work with the customers, it is an awesome industry. And I get, I'm sure you'll all appreciate this, and some of my team members will probably laugh at me. Children are your greatest sense of joy and your greatest pain in life. It just is. Well, again, no disrespect, man, but team members, I look at the same way. I get a much higher high watching them excel, watching them grasp, watching them take leadership than I do with things that, I do myself. I live vicariously through their successes, much more and get more satisfaction out of watching them, and not just team members, but people that I work with and volunteer with, the whole 9 yards. But boy, when they get you frustrated like this particular person did, I just couldn't get out of my way. And he's a great guy. And we yelled and swore at each other, and then we apologized a little bit later, and life goes on. So yeah. So begin with the end in mind. Captain of our own ships. You need to know where you want to be. And this is a really deep question. This is a really deep question, and it's not one I'm looking for an answer right now. But boy, if you know where you're going to be, it's a lot easier to get there. Knowing where you are is not bad either. Because if you know both of those places and being honest with yourself, if you know where you are, and where you want to get to, you have a fighting chance of getting there. In fact, most of us, well exceeding it. Because most of us put a glass lid on where we can reach. But if we know where we are and we target where we want to be, don't be surprised if not only do you get there, but you far exceed that. Because you have a path. I mean, let's take on some, more basic things. Hey, I want to get in shape. Well, what does that mean? I mean, we'll just go running because I hate it. I don't do it much. But, hey, I can run a 15-minute mile now. Let's be honest. I think I can do a 13-minute. I can walk a 13-minute mile right now. And if I want to be able to run an 8-minute mile, I can set a path how to get there. But if I say, I just want to get in better shape, it's really hard to reach that. I want to lose weight. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I want to get to. You can figure out a path to get there. I mean, it's so much easier when you know where you are, you're honest with yourself, that you're awesome, but there's a lot more potential in you. And if you don't think you're awesome, get the book, because it'll help you be awesome. And you want to be awesome. But I think most of us probably in here, and that's why you picked this class, you probably think you're pretty awesome. for in your situation that you're awesome, and that's great. But if you think you can't be more awesome, wow, life's not good. Life's not good if you peaked at whatever age you are. And someone told me something the other day on the bus ride up that was Eric Williams, one of actually we hired him. He was a tech student last year. He said to me, most people keep their high school mentality. They never change from that. Wow. Who I was in high school, I can look back at and have some proud moments, but I can unfortunately, remember the negative things. I can remember a lot of things I'm not so proud about. I'm constantly growing and moving. So working hard is awesome. Working extremely hard at what you really want is life-changing. But you can work hard, and they use a couple things about climbing a wall. You can really work hard at climbing that wall. And if you get to the top, you're sweating, and you've burned up a ton of calories, and you've accomplished a lot of things, and you look around and you go, hey, I'm on the wrong wall. And that's what personal, leadership is. The jungle. We've got our lead jungle cutter. He's there. He's got 4 jungle cutters there cutting through us. And someone yells down, hey, do you have a second? No, we're busy. They're chopping through. They're getting through. Hey, do you have a second? No, we're busy. Don't bother us. At some point, you got to stop. And they stop and they look up. What's the matter? You're in the wrong jungle. So you got to know, where you want to be to really get there. And hard work is awesome. And if you don't know exactly where you want to be, that's okay too. Work hard. But spend a little bit of time and energy figuring out where you want to be. I'm still figuring out. When I was young, I wanted to be a salesperson, a pro golfer, and a coin collector, or run a coin store. So I think I have a shot at least one of those, running a coin store, not a pro golfer.
Where's the store? Yeah, where's the
salesperson? I don't think I have it in me. So, okay. A personal mission statement allows you to begin with the end in mind. I know that's a big ask, but think about it. It isn't about work. It's about, look at, you're at a funeral, and you're spending a little bit of time, and you finally get up there, and it's before people start talking. You get up there, and you look down, and who do you see? Who do you see? You see you. So what's scarier than seeing you? What's scarier than seeing you is knowing that there's going to be 4 people that are talking about you. What are they going to say? What are they going to say? And if you've lived your life the way you really wanted to and what was really important to you, you're going to love what they're going to say. But if you got caught in the wrong jungle or climbing the wrong wall, it may be a little bit of pain. So I would encourage you to know, where you want to go, to begin with the end in mind, to think about it today. Even the really, really young people in here can do that, and probably rethink it, all the time and make the adjustments.
So even in high school, my path was never for an 8-minute mile. I'm lucky now to be thinking about a 13-minute mile. So, and the people that were in high school would agree with that. So, habit 3, put first things first. So we talked about introspection and figure out who you want to be, who's the real you. And we just got done talking about doing a personal mission statement. Again, how am I going to get the things I want to get? It's something we probably subconsciously do occasionally, but this is something that the exercise is to really build that mission statement. When you add those 2 together, habits number 1 and number 2, then we get to the execute stage. So kind of figured out who we want to be. We kind of know where we want to go. We've got that mission statement. Now it's time to actually go out and do it. So in order to manage ourselves, and we really can't manage time. There's 144 minutes in a day. How do you manage that? We can manage ourselves, but everything that we do could take longer or less time than what we're...
I kind of finally figured out. Sometimes I look at Steve and why haven't you got more done? And I figured out he's got 144 minutes in his day. You got to get more minutes, buddy. You got to get more minutes. 24 times 60, if anyone has a calculator, that's how many minutes are in a day. Just kidding,
Do the
Steve.
math. So prioritizing is what's really important, and prioritizing based on what we've, really done in 1 and 2. Again, it's looking at how many hats do you wear? A son, a father, a spouse. Socially, how many different things are you involved with that you could, put time to, that you want to put time to, that are important to, that you could prioritize? At work, those relationships, building the trust, being able to communicate and openly communicate because you have that trust. You put some things in that trust cap, if you will. How do we get there? And the thing is, you can't prioritize your schedule. You have to schedule your priorities. So what Stephen Covey says is, don't try to do a to-do list. Don't just look at calendars, but actually working with your mission statement, build a weekly planner, list all your hats, all your priorities. What do you really prioritize? What's most important to you? And then start jotting them down, whether it's revisiting things with the family on Sunday, what you're first going to do at the office on Monday morning, what you're going to do at home Monday night, what time do you want to get on the golf course on Wednesday. You start looking at what really is important to you and what makes it all spin, what makes it all work. So I think we've got, he breaks it down with 4 quadrants. So we've got quadrant 1, urgent and important. Quadrant 2 is not urgent but important. Quadrant 3, not important, urgent. And quadrant 4, neither urgent or important. And you start looking at it, where do I spend my time? We all have crises, whether they're at home. So, I had a hell of a weekend. Got my bike back, it's all polished up, it's clean. Saturday morning I run up and I pay for a lawnmower that I had a snow blower and lawnmower swapped out. Came back, jumped on the car with my wife and a buddy, went golfing. It was just great. Came back. Sunday, jumped on the bike, went to the store. We had to have some stuff that we didn't have. She didn't think we did, but I knew I had to go to the store. So it was about a 45-minute trip to the store. Came back, and she was out working, and it's just starting to rain. And so I'm helping her, doing some stuff in the yard. Come back in, I'm going to move the tractor that just got back. Won't start. So I'm not going to move the tractor. Way out the garage, I look under the bike, puddle of oil. I'm real happy right now. I just got the bike back. I've got a bike trip planned. And so Harley shop not open right now. I'm going to call on Monday morning. I decide I'm going to unhook my in-floor radiant Sunday night. One of the last things I do before I go to bed, so I'm down there, it's late. Did a bunch of other things, unhook some stuff. Get up Monday morning, we've got a 7 o'clock meeting with the staff. No hot water. Guy unhooked the wrong pump. So I'm running a little late. I got that all fixed up, explained to my wife that she might have a cold shower as well. Getting out to the car and I spilled coffee all over myself. So Monday morning meeting, I get up there to 7 o'clock to start the meeting. I've got to be proactive, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. I can't bring all of that. It was a great weekend. It just kind of went south on me. So, working through the quadrants.
If I could jump in there. So he was at the office at 1:45. I didn't know any of these things happened until, I think we were practicing yesterday. That was his weekend. And so I'm not sure that I could have experienced those things, been on time, because that's within his control. He got an early start. He built in cushion. And then when he got there to flush his activities, his bad circumstances, to flush them out, because they're in a circle of concern at that point, not a circle of influence. The circle of influence is probably calling the motorcycle shop and getting work done. That's the difference. Worrying about it is a circle of concern. Doing something about it is a circle of influence. And had no idea what he went through. I mean, he was as cheery. In fact, he said to me, "You were there when I was talking with Vern about it." And I said, no, I don't think I was. And then he started saying it. I'm like, yeah, I was. But, I never looked at it as a terrible thing. He was telling the story as, here's what happened. Kind of just dealt with it and moved on. So things are real. Things happen. I mean, the circle of concern is there. It just, what type of energy and time and resources do you want to put on that as compared to the circle of influence? And he went to what he could control, doing a great job running our meeting and motivating other people. And I'm guessing that after that meeting, some point in that morning, he probably gave Harley a call and said, "Here, what can we do to get this back on track?" So, I mean,
That was the same time that you were asking me to do some other things. So prioritization, again, we are going to have those urgent things that are important. We're going to have those crises we need to take care of. But if we're planning, if we're being proactive, we have ways of getting that done. The distraction, the not important stuff that's still urgent, more than likely is coming from somebody else. That's somebody else's urgency. And what you need to do there is learn how to hand that off. Have those individuals who can take care of that stuff for you, so that's not pounding on you. That's what you have other people around you for. And there's people there to help with that. Where we want you to spend time is in quadrant 2. That's where everything's really going to come together. And it's, again, the proactive, the important goals, the creative thinking, the planning and prevention, knowing that I could call Harley at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, and knowing that I could pick up a battery for the tractor helped me get through that real well. And my conversation with them went real well. I could have been very negative. Years past, I've been riding bikes for a long time, bought my first bike in '75. I haven't always been so positive with mechanics. I've been through a lot, and I've learned. It took me a while, but being more positive, being more proactive gets you quicker and better results. So having a plan in place, relationship building. I know the service manager over there real well. We're first name basis. That helps. We've created that relationship. So quadrant 2 is where we want you to spend the time. Quadrant 4, I mean, if you want to unwind and sit in front of the TV and do some brain candy stuff for an hour and a half a night or something like that, that's okay. But you have to be aware of the time wasters, the things that you really, constantly checking Facebook and seeing what's on Twitter, and every time you have a break, the cigarettes in your hand, and you're just, what are the time wasters? What's preventing you from getting something done that you can control? That's the stuff in quadrant 4. Gossip, I just love that on there. So those are things that we can't control.
So before we go there, how many of you have seen this chart before? I would have guessed a higher number. I mean, how many of you, when you've seen this chart and looked at it, said, "I'm going to do a better job. I am going to organize my days better. I'm going to organize my weeks better. I'm going to prioritize better"? I know I have. I mean, but it didn't quite get it to a habit. Didn't think it was obviously important enough to do. Although every time I look at it, I'm like, how can that not be a win? It's kind of like exercising. Sorry to bring up my personal life, but if I'm on a roll and I'm exercising like for 3 or 4 months, I can't imagine what it would be like not to exercise. Give me 2 or 3 more weeks and I'll have a pretty good grasp on it. But during those 4 months when you're on a roll, it's just like you can't imagine. And I can't imagine why I haven't continued to do this. And I am going to do it again. I mean, I look at some of those time wasters as checking email and checking texts. And we're a little bit checking voicemails. We've kind of created our own worst enemy. I mean, that is just not very effective if you don't need to. And in certain positions, you probably need to. I would think about reconsidering. I think setting expectations with people that you'll get back in a reasonable time period. I mean, I could tell you in my office, there's been days that I've looked at email. I won't say every time one comes in, because I turned off the noise, because I misbehaved. But I look at it a ton, and it's just inefficient. I mean, to look at it once an hour, once every 2 hours, and for people to have that expectation that you're going to be doing that, it's probably a lot better situation. So I mean, I would give this chart a lot of thought. So we are on the third habit. What Steve and I agreed to is we have no desire in getting to all the habits and rushing through it. I'm curious, some feedback from you guys on these different topics. The urgent. I mean, you just don't think about it. The important but not urgent. Steve mentioned about other people putting on your plate. I think if I could do a better job having a plan when to deal with important but not urgent things. Because what do I do sometimes? I do them just so they don't slip between the cracks. And what do I do to a coworker or a teammate? I give it to them right away so it doesn't slip between the cracks. Even though I may be making something urgent to them that's unimportant to them as well. Because I walk into their office and I say, hey, can you do this? And they stop what they're doing and they focus on you and they figure out a plan to do it. So why do I do it? I think why a lot of people do it is they just don't want things to fall between the cracks. And if I put, because I think I recognize a lot, this is not important, I just need to get it done. But I'm just afraid that I'm going to lose it. So if I put a time slot and a slot to deal with those non-important, those important but non-urgent things, once a week, and I just moved them to that, maybe that would allow me to stop panicking and trying to get them off my plate and onto someone's plate, or dealing with them when I shouldn't be, when it's not efficient. It's not urgent. It's important, but it's not urgent. Anytime this week would be fine. And if I could do all those important but not urgent things together, it would be a heck of a lot more efficient. The other thing I'm going to throw out, and again, please think about participating, is
You got to give them a chance.
I'm going to say, so on the seminar, the best advice I got at one point was plan a date, plan an event at 5:30 at night. Make yourself get out of the office. How many people, when they go on vacation, are the most productive the 3 days before they go on vacation is that they have been in a long time? How many people are really, really productive when they know they're going to leave the office because it's something they really want to do? Boy, we can really pound it out. Do we think we pound it out as much as we're efficient and we prioritize and we figure out things, better? I mean, but plan a date. Make a date at 5:30. I got to be out of the office at 4:30. And I'm not trying to offend any managers here or whatever, but you just sometimes you have to get yourself out, and the goal would be to get yourself out and feel good when you leave at 4:30, not all these things. Feel like, hey, I've taken care of what needed to be taken care of today, and at 4:30 when I leave, I'm going to enjoy the night. I am not going to be thinking about work because I prioritized. I got what was important, and I'm ready to have fun.
Dave, are we recording this? I want to play this back. Comments? Any feedback? Yes.
So I spent most of my career in field working, bending metal, doing service, transition to sales, draw line diagrams, create these babies, get them nice projects, and then it comes time to delegating the project at the end or handing that over. How long did it take for you to be able to really kind of let that part go or learn delegation or that's like my struggle.
Well, the first assumption is that I've done that, and I haven't. So That's a tough transition. You know, handing off the baby is tough. And what you need to do, I think, is, again, find that person that you can delegate that to, so it's just seamless. You just hand it off, and now they've got to be able to look at what you've got and read it and understand it and be able to, and that takes time. But that's part of the open communication, creating that relationship, getting the trust. So if you have the trust, you can delegate a little easier. And there's things that people have to say no to. Yeah, Dave.
No, by far, not don't have an answer to it. Absolutely. And I would say that it probably goes back to the first lens of how we see it. You have to be okay with it not looking how you want it to be for the good of the team. Because that's growth. That's growth in the company, that's growth as a team. And although, you know, the toughest part is removing you from that role. And how you do that, I still struggle to this day.
That's it.
Well, thank you, Dave and Dave.
So the chart that we gave you from dependent to independent to interdependence, so you're really good at independent stuff, relying on yourself, taking care of it, being responsible. That interdependent activity isn't, as easy, but trust. You've heard a bunch of people mention it right now, trust. And by the way, if you don't trust them, and there's a bunch of people in here that I work with, and we'd love to be a fly in the room and have them answer the question for me, because it's not easy what you're suggesting. It's not easy whatsoever. But trust. And if you don't trust them, how are they to trust you? So, and the lens comment was awesome. I mean, if it's, we're not looking for mediocrity. We're not scaling down, but it's different than what you suggested. It's a different timetable. I mean, sometimes you have to give it up and then figure out when the coaching moments are, when they are important enough to bring up. So, but it's a tough concept.
So the quadrant 2 stuff, we talk about exercise, we talk about mind, whether it's spiritual, whatever it is, that's all quadrant 2 stuff. Quadrant 3 stuff, again, learn how to delegate and also learn how to say no. There are some things that just aren't worth the time when you prioritize everything. But look at that planner. Look at all the hats. Look at all the time you have and put those things in order. Prioritize. And when you start looking at it that way, you'll see you've got more time to take care of some of the other things and to create those relationships. Okay.
So this will probably be our last habit to cover, probably even kind of quickly. But this moves into the interdependent zone. So you're moving from that private victory of being independent and taking care of things and doing a great job into that public victory, into that interdependence victory. And win-win is really important. And we've all heard win-win-win, win-win, but maybe I can make you look at it a little differently. Steve kind of mentioned this briefly. So the bank accounts, the trust issue. So we all get the concept of a bank account at the bank. You put in money and you don't withdraw as much, you have a bigger account. Relationships with people are the same way. The more trust you can put into that, and the less withdrawals by not being on time, by not being respectful, by second guessing them, all those are withdrawals. So you definitely want to put in as much deposits as possible. So when you make a comment like, what was it? 124 minutes in the comment, that rude comment that I made earlier, that there's enough trust there that even though I knew as soon as I started, I'm like, oh God, I can't believe you're saying this. But I knew he knows me as a whole person. And that, I took a withdrawal there. Let's just be frank and honest. I took a withdrawal, an unnecessary withdrawal. Sometimes they're necessary. That was unnecessary, but I also know him well enough and he knows me well enough to say, okay, you're an idiot, move on.
I've got it recorded that I can leave at 4:30.
Yeah. So making deposits into family or team members' account. When I first read this book, all I focused on was from the family. The girls probably weren't in my life right then, but I was, always wanted to have children. So I was, really interested in, hey, I know teenagers are hard, so I'm going to be making these deposits all the time when they're 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Oops, 13. Oh, they hit 13. You know, now maybe they'll trust me a little bit more because of the time and the consideration and the patience that I showed at those earlier ages for the most part. But that really is important. Keeping commitments, being there for people, and others time in need, being there when you don't need to be there. I mean, that is critical. I mean, that is, just such a bright light. Listening to them and trying to help if appropriate, but maybe just listening to them. Men try to fix things. We all know that. So keep the trust level high. Next screen. And I'm going to rip through this really quick. So there's win-lose. So if I win, you have to lose. There's lose-win. I don't mind. We're always the first person, the first shot. I don't mind losing. I'll let this person win. You know what? Maybe they'll owe me something down the road. And then there's win. I want to win. I don't really care what the other person experiences. I just want to win. Then there's win-win. And then the ultimate is win-win or no deal. And I would like to believe that with Lennox, this is the relationship that we have. I mean, I want it to be good for them. I want it to be good for us. And if it can't be, then we'll just move on to another topic. You know, hey, we'd like to run this marketing program. Here's what we need to do it. Can you help us? It'll help you. It'll help, me. Can we do this? Yeah, I can do it, but I can only do this much. That doesn't quite get where we want. Okay, let's go on to another topic. So it's win-win or no deal, no harm, no foul. That is the ultimate in interdependent relationships, is that when you can work with someone and try to have the attitude of we're going to do what's best for, a win for both of us. And by the way, if we can't figure it out, which sometimes you can't, no harm. I won't look at it and say, hey, you didn't come to my side. Well, I didn't come to their side either. So, hey, let's just, pick another battle and move on. So there's 3 important character traits, thoughts, essential to the win-win or no-deal program. Integrity is the value we place on ourselves. Do we believe in ourselves? Do we trust in ourselves? Do we keep commitments to ourselves? You have to have that belief. Maturity is the balance between courage and consideration. Hey, Dave, this is what I need. I don't have a problem. But listening, the consideration, listening to what they lead, changing that lens a little bit from their point of view, figuring out if it works for them, being open to that. I mean, so that, that balance between courage, this is what I want, child, daughter, I need this from you, but looking at it from their point of view and being considerate as well. But Dad, everyone else gets to stay out past 9:30. Hey, you're 24 years old. When you're 25, past 9:30 is fine. Until then, no. So, and then the abundance mentality, and this is probably the most important thing. You have to realize, or you have to come at from the point of view, is there's plenty for everyone. And 98% of the issues we deal with in life, there is plenty for everyone. Profit, boy, if we're all on that same page, we can take care of people better, we can share people better. But if we're in that win-lose, it's a bad, bad situation. So you have to believe in the abundance mentality, not the scarcity. And that the reality is we are all stuck. We were all, not all, a lot of us, I know I was, in the scarcity. There's just not enough for everyone. There's just not enough for people to go around.
So we're out of time. We have a couple of books up here if somebody's interested. Dave, I don't know if you and Chris have read it, but thanks for your input. If you're interested, come on up, talk to us. We've got cards. We'd welcome anybody if they want to have a discussion. Give us a ring. Let's talk. There's a lot more to go around. So,
Yep. Thank you very much. Have a great meeting.